Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana Weather. Thanks for logging on to our latest forecast update. A little bit of snow and some rain potentially in the forecast, but nothing quite like what's going on to our north. They're getting hammered with some snow up there. And the East Coast is going to get hammered with some snow too. Looks more like a rain-snow mix for us, which we'll talk about tonight. Could be some travel impacts though if you are flying or driving out of town. We'll talk about what you can expect for your Thanksgiving travel forecast here. We're sponsored tonight by Metal Magic in Washington. Be sure to give Chad a call at 698-8555 for all of your paintless tint repair needs. And then, of course, be sure to tell them that Southern Indiana Weather sent you. Alrighty, live look at radar. There is the snow up to our north. We are sitting here on a nice little cool down. We've already cooled to the lower 40s here at the 8:30 hour across the southern Indiana area, and we got 30s on our way tonight. Now, low 30s will be what we see tonight. We're going to stay under sort of a partly cloudy sky, so all the snow that you see up to our north here, not going to affect us, but we will have some little bit of a situation to impact us. Let's go ahead and start it off with the high resolution NAM, just to show you future radar right off the bat and give you a start here. There's that snow, by the way. You can see it just sort of out of our view up here to our north going on for them. Not affecting us as you go through your day on Tuesday. We'll warm up into the upper 30s, maybe even pushing 40 degrees in a location or two. And then by the time Wednesday comes in there, you can see the next little disturbance moving down through by 10 a.m. See maybe a little bit of a rain-snow mix on the way, and then here it comes during the afternoon hours here. By 4 o'clock, you start to see some rain overspreading through the area. And then by the time 7 o'clock comes, again, a nice little, you can see the colorings changing over here between a rain and snow mix in the area. It kind of stays that way, and then it pretty much all suppresses it to its south on this particular model run by 1 a.m. And you notice that's when the freezing line is starting to come to us. So you would have a hard time really seeing much of anything accumulate according to the high resolution NAM out of this, as ground temperatures wouldn't even be below freezing yet. This would keep it entirely as either rain or a rain-snow mix most likely. So that's one possible scenario, and then let me just show you some other scenarios as well. All the models are indicating now that we end up with this sort of a mix. Here we go with the GFS. In the GFS, you can see there it is diving down into us. Here we are in Indiana right here. Notice it's more of a Kentucky event than it is anything for them. Mostly misses us and stays down in Kentucky. The Euro model actually gives us a fairly good little swath of it, but again, temperatures are going to be the strongest consideration here. And you can see the Canadian model has that very similar look to us as well. So again, temperature profiles are going to be the absolute most critical thing about this. If we take a look at the GFS, here is what the GFS happens to say for about 1 in the afternoon on Wednesday. And what you can see here is we're warming up to the low 40s area wide. By the time that rain-snow mix really starts to get going in the area by 7 p.m., there we're on our way. And then by 1 a.m., we're starting to go below freezing across the area. So there is a chance maybe for a very brief window where we could get a little bit of a dusting according to the GFS. But remember, the GFS also confines most of it to Kentucky. So we'll have to sort of see whether that pans out or not. Here's the way the Euro model looks at it, and you can see, again, a little bit cooler, but we're still close to 40 degrees across the area by 1 in the afternoon. Cools us down into the low to mid 30s, and then finally, by the time that precipitation would be out of here, we're not even below freezing yet across the area. So this particular run of the Euro would not give us really any accumulation, very similar to what the high resolution NAM is showing. Canadian going a little bit extreme with our temperatures, waking up that morning into the teens. I'm not buying that one bit, but it quickly rises us to the mid 30s during the afternoon hours. I think that's a little cooler than what we'll see. I think we'll easily get into around the 40-degree mark and maybe a touch more across the area, and then you can see by the time 7 o'clock hits, it is being bullish with the cool air down in here, and that would give us a little bit of minor accumulations, but I'm not quite so sure that I believe this model. I mean, as you just sort of pull this out, you can see it brings 20 below zero up here towards Minnesota, and of course they've got a decent snowpack up there, but this is a little extreme. If you take a look at that same time frame for the other models, and you see, well, the 0-degree temperatures and maybe a -5, you don't see anything with 20 below. Sometimes the Canadian model just goes a little bit too bullish on the cold air. I think that's the way this is sticking. So bottom line, again, this is not going to be a big event for us. It's going to happen during the Wednesday afternoon into early evening time frame. By the time we start to get into the early overnight hours, most of this should be out of here by that point. And so again, temperatures are going to be critical, but with a warming up to a high temperature in the low 40s, that should really limit the accumulation that we can expect. Is it possible that we get a quick dusting out of this before it exits as it gets a little bit cooler? I could buy that, but I think even a half inch to an inch would be pushing it on this. Looking more and more like, to me, the models are fine-tuning this into sort of just a rain-snow mix kind of a setup. Now, if you have travel plans, as I promised, we'll just sort of take a look. Here's what the high-resolution GFS says. This is the experimental GFS model that will eventually replace the GFS model, the lower resolution one that has been operational for a long time. And you can see it does bring just a little bit of that snow showers into the area, but again, this is total snow that falls. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will stick, folks. Again, with temperatures being into the low 40s, even though this may fall, this is saying there could be a half inch of potential snowfall from the sky, but if it doesn't stick, it's not going to be any problems. And that's sort of the way it looks like. The only thing that I would say, advise caution there on Wednesday nights. There could be a little bit of travel problems as we go below freezing with wet roads. Could make for some slick spots, and if we get a quick dusting, that could make for some slick spots. But I don't expect this to be a significant event for us. If you have problems, if you have travel plans rather to the northeast, you could run into some very potential travel problems. You can see a large swath of accumulating snow up here, and then up to our north as well. So if you got problems, if you got travel plans up to our north or out to the northeast, then you may have some problems. If you're flying out to go meet family this Thanksgiving, do keep that in mind, because the major airports up here, say around the New York airports or even the New Jersey, maybe Pittsburgh, places like this, even up around O'Hare and Chicago, these places may end up having some travel delays. And you might think, well, if I go down to Atlanta, I may not have problems. But keep in mind, major airport hubs, they're all connected. So a delay at O'Hare and a delay at JFK, for example, may very well affect Atlanta. So even if you're traveling down to Atlanta or Dallas or some of these other places, you could still end up having delays. So just keep that in mind. It's going to be a very busy travel day, I know, on Wednesday, but there's the potential for some delays. Just keep that in mind. All right, let's talk about what to expect after this. Let's quickly just go ahead and go to southernindianaweather.com. Let's take a look at your 7-day forecast, your 10-day forecast, I should say, rather. Again, tomorrow is going to be kind of a cool day. We might push the 40-degree mark in some places, but most of us probably stay in the upper 30s under a partly cloudy sky. The rain-snow mix moves in during the afternoon, and really, this should say partly cloudy with a rain-snow mix on Wednesday here. I don't have that typed out right, but by the time this video is done and out there, I'll have it right onto the website for people to view. Again, this looks like more of an evening thing than a night thing. I just put that into the wrong spot, and that's my apologies there. But I do think we go into the low 40s for our afternoon high. And again, we're only going to about 30 or so that night for an overnight low, and it's probably going to be after 1 a.m. before we go freezing the way things look. So I don't think that travel is going to be much of an impact around here based on that. We're going to struggle on Thanksgiving Day, though, to make it to the mid-30s. It's going to be nice and cold behind this next system that moves in. It's going to be a pretty cloudy day with a little bit of sunshine mixed in there. And again, it's going to be just nice and chilly for Thanksgiving, but precipitation-free the way things look like. Then the warming trend begins. We go into the 40s on Friday, but look at this. By the time the weekend hits, we got some chances of rain starting to build back in, but we're up into the mid-50s. Look at this. By the time next week hits, we've got a bunch of rain chances in the forecast again, but we're going back into the 60s. So enjoy. We got a little bit of a cool down coming for the next couple or 3 days, but after that we got a nice warming trend come. But enjoy that warming trend while it comes. Let me just look out to the long range and give you a little bit more of an idea of what to expect without going into vast details here, folks. Basically, what you're going to see is a nice little cool down come here upon us through Friday, and then we get a nice warming trend after that. Just take a look at this. Temperatures back into the upper 50s. I'm thinking that we'll hit into the low 60s based on some of the other modeling for this period. But once that next cold front moves through, and by the way, some of the models, particularly the Euro, is hinting that we may even approach 70 degrees next Wednesday or Thursday. There's some timing that's still being worked out here, and we'll have to monitor that. The potential for severe weather could be very real if we get the temperatures up that high. That's something that we'll keep monitoring. But after that cold front moves through, you can see a steady decline in the temperatures as we enter into the first few days there and beyond of December. So After this little bout with weather here, if you're looking at it and saying, well, hey, where's the winter forecast at? I thought you said it was going to be cold. It is. Just remember this: whenever we have a nice big warm up in winter, always fear what becomes behind the warm up. This over here, by the way, would be the perfect recipe in this transitional time to see some winter storms. So that's something that we'll keep an eye on. No, I don't have anything particularly on my radar screen in view right now, but it's something that we will monitor. Snow lovers, if you're out there saying, I want a big one, I'm just not seeing it yet, folks. That doesn't mean that it's not coming, but I'm not seeing it yet. Really, the best that we're going to get is just a little bit of some rain snow mix for the coming few days. We'll keep an eye on it beyond that. All right, folks, that is it for this edition of our Long Range Update. Thanks for watching. I'm Meteorologist Michael Wilhite with Southern Indiana Weather. Take care, stay safe, and have a happy Thanksgiving, folks.